Hello, and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News Channel. We're going to take a look at some of the expectations for 2020 in the cryptocurrency world. Some of you are going to be disappointed by what I expect in 2020, but I think when it comes to the end of the year 2020, many of these things will actually have played out. So Bitcoin will continue to dominate. There will be a flipping sometime in the future. However, that year is not 2020. I think Bitcoin's still way too far ahead, and the adoption and integration of cryptocurrency into society is just not at the point where some utility use case can actually make a coin flipping Bitcoin in 2020. I think Ethereum might be the closest, but we're still several years off from that happening. Bitcoin's first mover advantage will keep it dominant in 2020. So, and another expectation is institutions will continue to trickle in. Institutional investment is mainly with Bitcoin right now, and I expect it to be mainly with Bitcoin in 2020 while adding other top coins like Ethereum or XRP to their offerings. However, it'll still be mainly Bitcoin dominant. Institutions like safety, and Bitcoin honestly is the safest institutional crypto investment by far. It has the most custody solutions, it's traded at the most exchanges, and it has the most liquidity. And if you actually look at Argentina, Venezuela, Brazil, Colombia, Turkey, those countries, when those people run out of their country's fiat for an option, they turn to Bitcoin, not another coin. So Bitcoin will continue to suck up the institutional investment, but institutions will continue to trickle into cryptocurrency. I don't think there's any event where there'll just be like a giant flood of institutional investment, but I think they will continue to trickle in as regulations get better and better. And that leads me to my third thing. Regulations will continue to be fought over. 2020 will be a good year for regulations, but they will be continued to be fought over. Which agencies control which cryptos, how cryptos are classified, that's not going to be one big ruling. I mean, aside from how cryptos are classified and how they can be used, there is still the custody problem. And there's a lot of regulations that go with money transfer, custody, and all these other things going around crypto. One of the companies said just for us to actually store some data on the cloud, we had to wait like 10 months for some regulations to get through. And crypto regulations and the whole monetary system is a lot more complex. So it's not going to be like 2020 is the end all be all for regulations. That fight is probably going to stretch out for several more years. So regulations will continue to be fought over. They'll get better in 2020. They'll get a little more clear, but it's not going to be the end-all, be-all year. That is the third expectation. The fourth one is Bitcoin price will be volatile this year. And it has been volatile in the recent years, but specifically this year, I do expect a pump and then a dump and then slowly going up towards the end of the year. I do believe that it will probably pump in March or April, maybe before that, but in March or April, right before the halving. And then just like last cycle, it will dump right after the halving, but not to below 10,000, hopefully. And then after it dumps to about 10,000, maybe in June, it should slowly go up after that towards the end of the year. And hopefully towards the end of the year, we'll hit around the all-time high. So I expect there'll be, I do expect there will be one pump, one dump, and a slow going up this year because of the halving and how the cycle actually works out in Bitcoin. So the price will actually be volatile. The fifth expectation is adoption for altcoins will improve, but will be hard pressed to affect price. Yes, coins like Casino Coin, VeChain, mainly VeChain, XRP, Ethereum, Tron, they will continue to get adoption. But outside of Bitcoin movement, that kind of adoption is hard pressed to actually affect price unless there's a FOMO moment, which it will get sold back down if there is an actual FOMO moment. The adoption's coming, but right now the adoption is so far behind the price right now that every coin is massively overvalued if you actually look at the adoption versus the actual price. So they have a long way to catch up, and I don't quite think, maybe a few coins at the very end of the year, but I don't quite think they'll be able to catch up to what's expected for price just based on adoption. So I do think a lot of the price rise will still be on speculation, news, and Bitcoin movement. So I do expect adoption will improve quite massively, but it will be hard pressed to affect price with the adoption this year. Expectation is the dollar will not collapse this year. Yes, keep dreaming if you're banking on that. The US government, the Fed, the treasuries, and other countries have mechanisms to actually float up their currency. The system will not collapse this year. Yes, we might see the beginnings of a recession, and I almost expect that, especially towards the second half of this year. But the dollar will not collapse. And it won't just like, the system won't just collapse altogether. If the dollar does get replaced, it'll be a slow process that happens over years or decades. It just won't be like, oh, now we're going to use crypto, because that's really just not going to happen. That would cause a lot of mass riots, and like the regulators would find people with torches at their door. So they're not going to actually do that. So I do not expect the dollar to collapse this year, next year, or the year afterward. The seventh expectation is Ethereum Network 2.0 will be rocky and cause hesitation. Yes, there will be a lot of hesitation with Ethereum Network 2.0 for people, because 2.0 essentially makes their mining equipment for Ethereum absolutely worthless. So there'll be some rocky hesitation for the adoption. And based on their timeline, switching completely over to 2.0 will take about 3 years. So there's going to be a lot of hesitation, maybe some infighting within the Ethereum community between 1.0 and 2.0, a lot of miners leaving, which would affect Ethereum price. So Ethereum price is going to be extremely rocky in the next couple of years. I still strongly believe in Ethereum, but because of this transition between 1.0 and 2.0, which I do not think will be as smooth as a lot of people think, I do think that Ethereum 2.0, the price and the project right altogether will be very rocky in the next year. The next expectation is Binance will continue to expand its business in many different ways. We know that Binance is expanding to Europe with JE, in US, and now it's expanding to other places. It will continue to have more offerings, and that will all build into Binance Coin. I don't really know if the utility of Binance and all these offerings will actually affect the price of Binance Coin. I can see it spurring some FOMO, and I can see every Binance expansion eventually having some FOMO in the price of BNB. But I do not know if that will itself result in a large price. If Bitcoin goes up, BNB will go up, and I think it will go up very fast, especially as Binance opens new avenues to business. But I do expect Binance operations to expand quite drastically in 2020, and Binance getting into more traditional finance as well as cryptocurrencies. And the last expectation is Craig Wright will become even more of a joke in 2020 than 2019. Obviously, his prediction that Bitcoin will cease to exist by the end of 2019 did not happen. That was a joke. His prediction of BSV being $1,200 by the end of 2019 did not happen. And now he is making excuses on why he does not have access to the Tulip Fund, so Bitcoin Armageddon has been canceled. So based on all of this, we can deduce that Craig Wright will become even more of a joke in 2020 than 2019. So that is my expectations for 2020. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.